everyone. Welcome. And thank you for joining our webinar today, Actimask Taste Masking, the key to making patients better without the bitter. My name is Bill McCarthy, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at SPI Pharma. We'll spend just a few minutes introducing SPI during the webinar, but quickly, SPI Pharma is based on a foundation of material science and application know-how, specifically for patient-centric dosage forms and orally dispersible formulations. We're very excited to introduce our Actimask technology today and to relaunch our product, Actimask Ibuprofen, in this webinar. Today, our presenters Wayne Camarco and Donald Loveday will be discussing Actimask. Wayne is SPI's Global Technology Development Manager, and he'll present the technical details and provide application examples. Don is SPI's Global Business Development Manager, and he'll discuss the service projects that utilize Actimask. We'll be demonstrating the unique aspects our taste masking solution can provide, and also show the additional benefits of using taste masking technology. If you have any questions during the webinar, please type them into the chat window below in the environment. We'll address them during the Q&A. Also in your console, your screen may view its additional resources like access to related downloadable content and the ability to book a meeting with our technical experts. Today's webinar will start with a brief introduction to SPI Pharma. Wayne will then present the technical details of our taste mask products and technologies. Don will then move into the SPI Pharma service offerings with taste masking. That will be followed by a panel discussion addressing several industry questions around taste masking technologies and techniques. Finally, we'll have a Q&A. I'll now hand over the presentation to Wayne Camarco.
Great, thanks, Bill. Hi, my name is Wayne Camarco. Just to talk a little bit today about SPI Pharma as far as an introduction. We are known in the industry for our immediate relief antacid actives, but also a large range of excipients into the immediate relief and intraoral type products. We have a lot of expertise with our customers, applications, and going back, and I'll show you in the next slide some of our innovations going back into about 2016 when we came up with some new materials as far as new and novel materials that go into platforms for ODT type formulations. And then a little bit later, we'll go into the main part of the presentation, which is, of course, the Actimask taste masking and our capabilities there. SPI, as far as our innovation, we are really pretty much the first people in the industry to come out with a platform for ODTs. A lot of you might remember PharmaBurst. It was actually about 2004 we launched this product, and since then it's been very well received, has great organoleptics, organoleptics being the word used a lot in the industry, in the food industry as well, to say that this thing tastes nice, has a good texture, and goes well as far as making dosages, especially orally dispersible. Since then, we've come up with different types of products, different kind of innovations. We started with the Applied Innovation Group in 2005, which is really to concentrate more on this type of innovation, coming up with new products. And I'll go through quickly some of these products, but for example, we came up with some directly compressible forms for nutritional, Actimask, which I'm going to talk about today as far as taste masking. And very recently, up until last year, we've come up with different types of mannitols, innovative definitely, and products which find a use and a new usage in orally disintegrating products, chewables, again, using mannitols, good organoleptics, along with the technology we have to enhance the formulation ability, the tableting, etc. And the very newest product, just to touch on, UltraBurst, which is our version, if you like, of PharmaBurst, but much faster as far as disintegration. This is cutting-edge technology to really make very fast, ultra-fast disintegrating tablets. So today I'm going to talk about Actimask, which is our taste masking technology. taste masking, interesting subject. It's very much talked about. You see it in a lot of articles. It's something, obviously, with a bad, bitter tasting material, you've got to try and stop that taste coming through with orally disintegrating, chewable, anything which comes into contact with the mouth, the tongue. So there are, as many of you know, different types of taste masking techniques. We can list here some of the things: flavors, polymer coatings, coactivation, ion exchange, co-extrusion, spray granulation, and cyclodextrin complexations. So today, we as a company, and again, Don's going to talk a little bit about this, we can do some of these techniques, and we have done for customers to improve the taste profile of a finished dosage. But today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about coactivation. So, coactivation. Actimask is the trade name we use for this. I'm going to go a little bit over the process and also talk about two specific products. So, coactivation, what is it? It's you can look in the literature. There are some different theories about how it happens. It depends. There are different systems and way of doing this. The way that we use is an aqueous system. And if you look at the little diagram at the top left, you can see some of the theories of this, where you have water, you have two different polymeric chain type materials, using a charge system, like a polycation or anion system, and using techniques such as change the pH, temperature, other types of initiating agents. You can create a system where, if you look at the middle diagram, you can see that the API, you can see that top left box. The API is an aqueous solution. We put in there the cation, and in this case, a cationic polymer, which is actually gelatin. So that's the product that we coat the material with. Now, the gelatin is in solution, aqueous solution. So there's a couple of points here. The API to be taste masked, whatever that might be using our technology, shouldn't be too water soluble, of course, because then you would lose all the crystal or the particles into the solution. But it does work for moderately soluble products such as Acetaminophen or ibuprofen. And then using the technology, you can deposit, you force the gelatin out of solution, and then it forms a layer on top of the API. On the far right, you can see an example of a drug particle being coated by this gelatin layer. And you can see this particular layer has like a hydrogel type appearance and feel. The main features of these materials is that you can really put on small amounts of coating agent, meaning you get high assay of your API, meaning that the final tablet, for example, if you're making tablets, can be smaller than normally used by some of the other technologies where you have to use a lot more coating weight for weight material. So it's thin, it compresses well, it swallows easily, has a kind of, like gelatin does as far as its coating material, slipperiness. The particle size is going to be controlled by the API, as we saw on the diagram in the middle. That API is pretty much unchanged by the process. It's just coated. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, you want to be able to compress this material, usually in a tablet, although we do have examples where we're using these in dispersible powders. And, of course, we want to make, and a very important point with these type of technologies is you want to make sure that you pass whatever the monograph, USP monograph for dissolution. And that can be an issue with taste masking. It's a balance. Taste masking, those polymers, you want them to not dissolve in the mouth so that the API is not exposed. But then once it reaches the stomach, or further, depending on the process or the delivery system, you want that material to dissolve quickly, the gelatin, to release the API so that you meet the solution. There are other technologies, just to bring this up with coactivation, some good technologies as well, but different, maybe, for example, using solvents or things like ethyl cellulose. But Actimask has some really unique and good properties. A quick look at the detail of the coating process. It's interesting if you look at the two slides on the right, SEMs, you can see how thin a coating we can actually put on in gelatin. You can see the measurements are a little bit small. Maybe you can't see it, but they're small micron type numbers. And then you can see, in this case, it's a cross-section through the particles, the APAP core or the ibuprofen core. So I'm just going to talk about specific products, and we're going to start off with the ibuprofen face mask material. As part of the presentation, I'd like to give some slides showing some of the properties of the different materials we're going to be covering. And as we mentioned before, in this case of our newly launched material, ibuprofen face mask, one of the most important things is that the material dissolves as far as in vitro and indeed in vivo, because you want to, even though we have taste masking, and we want that taste masking to take part, especially at the beginning part of the dissolution process, because that's where it would be, for example, in the oral cavity. We want to also have the dissolution continue so that we pass whatever there might be as far as the USP limits, for example, tablets, which are stated depending on the monograph and depending on the dosage form. So here we're showing a slide really looking at the Actimask. It's just been put into a dissolution media as is. So it hasn't been formulated. It's been put in, a few different lots have been put in to look at variants. And of course we see easily we pass the Q value of 80 in this particular case, and we're using the media from USP 7.2 pH. Did a nice study as far as in vivo. This is a crossover design, 13 adults, and we're looking basically at an ODT, orally dissolving tablet, and also ODP, orally disintegrating powder, versus a reference product on the market. And we're really just to see, and just to confirm that we are getting in vivo dissolution of these materials, and there's nothing to worry about using this type of coatings. And here we see the results comparing favorably between the three different data points here. I always like to give the physicals of the product for formulation purposes. Its bulk density, tap density gives it a really good car flow, particle size around 300 microns, and this is a very tightly controlled particle size, so you have a very flowable material with consistent particle size. As part of looking at the material, let's look at some actual formulation, end formulation. So we've done some work ourselves looking at different types where you might find utility for these type of Actimask formulations. We're going to look at some fast melts, chewable, and ODT using some of different excipient platforms to form dosages which could easily be commerciable type of products. So here, just give an example, there's 4 different types of products here, ODT formulations and chewable formulations on the right. If we look on the left, we're looking at PharmaBurst. That's our ODT platform. Works very nicely with the ibuprofen Actimask, so you get a nice ODT type product. We're flavoring it orange, tend to use a little bit of sucrose in most of these formulations, but the PharmaBurst Actimask combination gives a nice product. Also, the one below that is more of a fast melt product. We're using now some of our latest mannitols, so highly compressible but nice organoleptics, using our materials into that as far as the Actimask, and not really using, we're using a little bit of super disintegrant here to get the product to come apart a little bit faster. Of course, that's up to the formulator. On the right-hand side, we're looking more at the chewables, and sometimes we can leave out the super disintegrant if you want to have a little bit more residence time in the mouth, and we can look at some different types of products here. So all of these, we've checked for stability, and they seem like nice, viable formulas. we look at some of the tablet type properties, we can see the thickness, the hardness, and disintegration times are good, depending on what you want to use these materials for. The friability is very good. The chewables are the larger type tablets, and then we have one of the chewables, a little bit faster disintegration time. Again, all very customizable. But the main thing is here is really just showing examples of how you can use Actimask in real-world examples. Finish off the study, we looked at a couple of products here as far as dissolution, and yes, we're fine. Well, those products, those formulations we just looked at have good dissolution profiles. I'm going to switch gear a little bit to another product we have, which is Actimask Acetaminophen, or paracetamol, as it's known in Europe. Looking again at the physicals, has a great flowability. We have a little bit higher assay than the 86 of the ibuprofen. It's a function of coating the API, which tends to control how much material can be put onto the API. But again, that shows really nice high assays, so you can get the lowest possible tablet weight, depending on your formulation. Again, particle size is tightly controlled. In this case, it's about 380 D15 microns. And just to make a point here about the different types of particle size and how you might use those, we haven't found any problems with using our materials for making formulations here, but we do have some different grades of mannitol. For example, when we talk about pure mannitol grades with enhanced properties, for example, the opal and the ruby. The ruby is actually quite a large particle size, so you can also use this one for this type of material, large particle sizes, or if you've got other perhaps added APIs, other types of large particle size material, or indeed other taste mask materials which have high particle sizes, then the ruby could be a nice match for that type of formulation. So, covering some of the things like we did for the ibuprofen, dissolution is great. We're looking here at APAP powder versus our Actimask coated material. If you look at the top, so the bottom left of the graph, this is where we see, and where we want to see, a little bit of a slowness of dissolution. That's where we see the dissolution of the APAP covered by the gelatin system. And of course, that's going to be that first entry into the oral cavity. So we want to try and protect taste release here and the dissolution of the drug. But of course, then we want it to catch up so that we get good dissolution as far as drug availability later on in the body and USP type monograph testing. To give an example, like we did before on the ibuprofen type formulations, we could use the ones we showed before, but here we've got another type of chewable example we've done, using this time a slightly different grade of our mannitol, but it's simple, using flavoring and flow agent, depending on what type of formulation you're using, and you get some nice properties here as far as the hardness and friability. So with that, thank you, and I'm going to hand this over to my colleague, Don.
Wayne, thank you. That was very helpful to get oriented in thinking about our material systems and how they can be used to create taste mask APIs for use in oral dispersibles and other convenience dosage forms that are so critical to product innovation today. In developing these material systems and in creating taste mask actives for these material systems, these drug delivery systems, SPI has gained a significant wealth of knowledge and experience in the specialty, the unique characteristics of formulating these dosage forms. And we offer that as a service to the industry called Pharmaceutical, where we help you through custom drug development services to bring these unique products to market quickly and to reduce the risk of failure because we use our expertise in your product development. We leverage our experience in formulations and in project management in getting quickly to a prototype so that you could expand the product life cycle for your molecule or your drug brand products. And we can help you get to market faster because we can help you select and deselect material systems and taste mask approaches for APIs to ensure that you will move quickly and successfully to a conclusion and launch the product. This service is not just something we talk about. We've provided it for a number of years. We have launched 60 or more products globally with our customers, including Paragraph 4 filings, 505(b)(2)s, and OTC monographs and many combinations thereof, typically starting with a proof of concept to make sure that you are comfortable that our services are going to push you along the development pathway towards delivering these unique dosage forms to the market. The way that the drug development services are structured is we have a team called the Applied Innovation Group, which was mentioned earlier by Bill and Wayne, in which we are working with the customer from very basic technical development all the way through to licensing technology that can be used for with our customers. And then in between, we apply a lot of applications expertise through formulation development and optimization all the way through the drug product development process up to and including tech transfer to you or your preferred CMO. Over the course of developing a drug product, it's critical that we, as your partner in helping to develop your final dosage form, are interacting with you around the whole spectrum of technical support and technical interaction. So these relationships can range from a prototyping agreement, which is very basic, and in which we prototype a solution for you and you tell us that you would like to go on to the next stage, all the way through to an agreement to develop the full drug dossier for the final dosage form, which is then transferred to your CMO. The key point I want to make is that in every aspect of our interaction with you, we are focused on giving you the very highest quality technical support. From the very beginning, simple prototype, yes, simple, but it will answer your question about the next stage going on to, say, engineering scale-up and on to validation, or by getting the support that you need by doing the research that's required to explain or improve the performance of a material system that's not quite there for your application. So this is a customized or a bespoke, high-quality technical support function that enables your product strategy. To show you what I mean and to tie together some things that Wayne mentioned earlier, I'd like to give you a few examples of pharma solutions that we've developed for taste mask products. Now, this is a small, very small look at the dozens and dozens of taste mask systems we've developed for oral dispersible and convenience dosage forms with good organoleptics and great cost features compared to other options on the market. But I just wanted to point these out to you as some contrasting examples of our experience over the years. As I mentioned, we'll look at 3 examples of taste mask formulations developed using our Pharma Solutions services. They range across a very broad spectrum of demonstrated capability in both materials and drug delivery systems, as well as the taste masking capability that's so critical to oral dispersible dosage forms in which the drug is present in the mouth and can cause issues with patient adherence and acceptance of the dose form. The first one is a stick pack application using Actimask APAP. APAP is acetaminophen, paracetamol. We call it APAP for simplicity because that's the common industry parlance. But this is our Actimask APAP that Wayne introduced earlier, in which we gelatin coat the APAP to a 95% assay. And that high assay active is used in a compact stick pack application. The second one is a sachet application, which we developed predispersion of Actimask APAP, and the second API as well, which we will keep as API B for now, but to illustrate to you that we can work with multi-API systems. And the last one is a fast-dissolving Diphenhydramine ODT, in which we use our ion exchange technology to taste mask the diphenhydramine, and we use our UltraBurst materials platform to deliver a fast ODT. As Wayne said before, you're probably familiar with our Pharma Burst product. UltraBurst is a much faster and different material platform, giving you disintegration times in the range of 5 to 15 seconds. So these are meant to just pull 3 examples that illustrate the versatility of our formulations know-how, and particularly with respect to these well-known over-the-counter molecules that have well-known taste masking challenges. First is the paracetamol or APAP stick pack application. And as you're looking at this, bear in mind there are many, many stick pack type applications, sachet type applications on the market today. And as the geriatric population increases globally as a percentage of population, and as we see people combining drugs with, say, yogurt or applesauce or other semi-solid foods, these are very interesting dose forms to consider for your molecule. In the stick pack or dispersible powder formulation, there are 3 key aspects: the formula, we use our evaluation criteria, and the modifications we made to the formulation. Again, I said before, our Pharma Solutions service is intended to get you to an economical, high-functioning, bespoke solution, a custom solution for your molecule. It's not one size fits all, so we do modify the formula, and we'll talk about that here in this very brief set of slides. It's 200 and 500 milligram APAP doses. Those are recognized pediatric and adult doses around the world, where we're looking at 1:2 and 1:1 ratios of APAP to the diluent package. The dispersant we use is called Pharmaspurs 416 and also Managem 2080, which again, Wayne introduced those here earlier. And we use different kinds of flavorings. In the end, a significant amount of expertise behind flavoring and sweetening is required to properly taste mask an API, because even the most powerful taste masking, active taste masking technology can still leave some taste that's unpleasant or can produce some unpleasant taste. And so flavoring and sweetening is an important part of our formulations expertise. The criteria for evaluation were adherence to the monograph. Again, in our formula, we use doses that are relevant to the market. In our evaluation, we're looking at the monograph to make sure we have appropriate drug dissolution and appropriate performance to the monograph. We also looking at particle size and content uniformity of our dispersion so that we have good handling, good filling, good dose-to-dose variation, very limited effects there, and then the taste assessment for this over-the-counter molecule. We modified the formulation to improve the taste assessment, to improve the blend and fill uniformity, and also to improve and meet the monograph dissolution requirements. Quickly, here are the 2 drug diluent combinations that we selected for advancement to create a dossier. Again, these drug dose forms are available as a dossier from SPI. We can provide that to you so that you can then move into your production once you have tech transferred this into your facility. So these are not theoretical studies or something. These are actually dossiers that are available from us. In one case, the 250 milligram APAP dose, it's 264 milligrams because, again, it's a high-assay taste mask dose form with 264 milligrams of the taste mask APAP, or 528 milligrams in the case of the 500 milligram delivered dose of APAP. Then you're looking at about 500 milligrams of the dispersant, about 6 to 10 milligrams of sweetener, citric acid, strawberry flavor, totaling in the case of the 250, a 750 milligram dose in the stick pack. In the case of the 500, 1100 milligram total dose in the case of the 500. What we found in our results were that the Pharmaceutical product has superior organoleptics to the conventional mannitol alone. Mannitol Managem 2080 is a very good mannitol product, and by further pre-formulating it using some of our know-how, we create the Pharmaceutical product, and it has very good organoleptics to go along with a very good mouthfeel and improve the mouthfeel of a mannitol product. You can see that the creamy mouthfeel is preferred in the organoleptic assessment, and there's, in both cases, no aftertaste because, again, our Actimask APAP technology prevents the user from experiencing the very bitter metallic taste of APAP. That's important. That's critical to patient adoptance and adherence. Even more critical is meeting the monograph, and you can see on the right, each of these curves is well within the monograph in terms of the drug to solution in a standard solution and using the FDA methodology. All of these fall within the monograph release for the drug. And so this product that we've developed would be usable, can be developed into a final dose form, tech transferred into a manufacturer for use in delivering this type of product to the market. The second example is an over-the-counter product that's in the form of a sachet. We developed this product by making a predispersion, and in using this predispersion approach, we are able to get to different kinds of experiences for the patient to treat two conditions that are concomitant typically in a patient. And we'll talk about it a little bit more on the next slide. But the point of this was get to a very pleasant consumer experience that addresses two different conditions that are often found at the same time in the patient, but to do it in a convenience dose form that can be used with many types of different liquids and other delivery methods that are common in the industry. To illustrate the development of this OTC sachet application, which contains both APAP, that's taste mask, our Actimask APAP, and a bitter co-API, yet yielding great organoleptics, I want to show a very brief video, less than a minute, but you'll see in this that the powder is easily dispersed from the sachet. Then with some small amount of stirring, you get this effervescent, pleasant tasting combination of a very, very bitter API and the Actimask APAP. All of this is in a fast-dissolving, easy-to-use formulation that's very widely accepted on the market today. As a final example of the versatility and scope of our Pharmasolutions drug development services, we'll look at diphenhydramine ODT. Diphenhydramine is a well-known bitter API with significant taste masking challenges. We developed a taste masking system, an active taste masking system, that allows you to use diphenhydramine readily in numerous kinds of formulations that are oral dispersibles. Let's take a moment and look at the scope and the background for this development project, which we completed. Our product, as you can see on the right, the Ultraburst formulation, is intended to be a fast ODT. That is an ODT of disintegration time 10 seconds or so, with a target tablet weight of about 100 milligrams and meeting the monograph of the marketed product. Ours is a fast ODT, meaning that it's orally disintegrating without chewing. So ours is an improvement on the marketed product, and yet at a much lower tablet weight and with a much faster disintegration time. So we're trying to improve on the marketed product, and we did that by developing this for superior functional properties, but meeting the children's monograph for diphenhydramine, which is widely used for children's allergies. This is typically very bitter with a very low tolerance for the taste with children, and so any improvements that can be made are greatly sought in the market. To quickly summarize the results of our study, which has resulted in an improved dosage form for diphenhydramine that's suitable for use in pediatric applications. You can see lower center there, our Ultraburst Fast ODT, 10-second dissolution time or less, and the 100 milligram tablet weight, but with good hardness, is superior to the marketed product, which is a chewable of 600 milligrams total tablet weight, and a very slow disintegration time. In fact, it's not an ODT. You have to chew it. So here we're offering a pleasant experience, a pleasant organoleptic experience, good taste profile, but the same performance as the monograph performance for diphenhydramine. And again, here the improvement is that this is going to be more acceptable to the target audience, adolescents and children, who are often using diphenhydramine for allergies and other antihistamine conditions. So I walked you through a few examples of how our Pharmasolutions service can help you get to your final dose form very quickly and to reduce risk and to provide you with the benefit of our many years of expertise. I'd like to turn our attention now to how the service works and some of the features of how we work with our customers on the level of basic project deliverables, timing, the types of investigative techniques and methodologies we use, so that you get a sense of what's available to you. Of course, we are always interested in learning about your questions. We may have things that we don't discuss here in this presentation, so please always do ask. But I wanted you to get a look under the hood, if you will, into how we do Pharmasolutions at SPI. Pharmasolutions is basically a full-service drug development service, and it's focused on using our knowledge, skills, and experience in oral dispersibles, convenience dosage forms, taste masking, all of those skill sets and experiences which are often outside the scope of a typical drug manufacturer or drug formulator. Or we may have specialized expertise that can help you as well. So our core capabilities will be very familiar to you. And we offer the data in a CTD format. It's ready for you to scale up at your facility or with your CMO. and we also offer full regulatory support for your drug filing. So these things will look similar to what you may see at a lot of CDMOs out there. Where we're different is that we will get into the process with you very early when you're still doing your ideation of sachet or dispersible tablet, fast or dispersible, etc. We'll get into there and help you think about ways to address your patient population better earlier. And we can help you move quickly to market. So, for example, if you want to look at prototypes or concepts, we do that as well. It's not necessary to do a full dossier project, but instead we have a customizable, as I said, a bespoke type of format for our projects. And most of our capabilities are differentiated because we own IP related to that through patents and other forms of IP. And we're always addressing what are considered unique dosage forms in industry. Typically, our knowledge base is an extension of what your highly capable folks already know. And we come in as a specialist to help you reduce the risk and accelerate the timeline of drug development for these unique dosage forms. Some of the advantages of our Pharma Solutions services versus do-it-yourself or work with your preferred CDMO and hope they can get it to work, what we offer as advantages are we have decades of expertise in these specialist material systems, these ingredient systems that are used for formulating oral dispersables and other convenience dose forms. At the same time, we use industry standard approaches like QBD and QTPP for preparing and executing your development project. We offer freedom of operation focused formulation strategy. We will help you avoid encumbrances. We will enable you to use our IP in your products. And at the same time, we are working with you to accelerate your speed to market, to drive your product ideation and create these patient-centric oral dosage forms, which are key to addressing increasingly challenging populations like pediatrics, where in the world today, the regulator requires you to explain essentially what you're doing to address pediatric populations with your new drug, what you're doing to address pediatric populations with your new use for an existing drug. And again, we do all of that while maintaining a core that's very familiar to you. Using industry standard approaches, we do the full development for you if that's what you wish, and we will provide regulatory support for your product launch. So we're a full service shop to the extent that you need it, and we bring that best-in-class expertise throughout the full development life cycle for the drug product. I'd like to take a moment and talk to you a bit about the services we provide at a level of granularity that will help you understand our capabilities. These are not our only capabilities, and also to talk a bit about how we've used these capabilities to get customer success, and then how our flexible business model and how easy it is to work with us. What you see here, a lot of words. It's important to point out that the key here is that we have a very wide array of formulation development capabilities, and the knowledge, skills, and experience in each of these areas to quickly get you from a concept to a working prototype. And to do that repeatedly until you have exactly the product that you need to go on to commercial development and launch. So some of the technologies that we use in API enhancement, like taste masking as an enhancement to the API, include coacervation, we talked about that, powder layering, complexation. We mentioned earlier the complexation API, which we developed for diphenhydramine, spray drying, spray congealing, fluid bed coating, and that leads on to novel co-processing platforms, bioenhancement, taste masking, control release, and generally novel dosage forms for our process capabilities and API enhancement. Coupled with that, we have a lot of expertise in both characterization. I won't go through all the analytical characterization we do, but it's that and more that you see there, everything you can imagine to characterize the powder or its performance in the final dose form. And then the process development equipment, typically we have commercial scale equipment for every one of these categories, and we can rearrange them to yield a number of different types of processing capabilities so that we can get to precisely the kind of powder, precisely the kind of dose forms that you are looking for in the project. And to kind of summarize our Pharma Solutions service, it's rather than something we talk about, it's something we've been doing since 2005, building on prior decades of experience in these novel dosage forms. We have formulation scientists in the US and India. They have a very deep knowledge of structure and functionality of excipients as well as taste masking of APIs and the process technologies required for taste masking. And those integrate very well with their structure and functional knowledge of excipients. We have a very broad patent estate. A lot of our platforms are IP-based. They'll help you with your lifecycle management for your product and your molecule. And again, we have a track record of successful development with more than 60 drug products launched globally. Our experience with challenging APIs is particularly important to point out. Those with very poor bioavailability, with poor stability, or in matching a reference listed drug which has a particularly challenging profile. Those are areas where we have great expertise. And on your right, you can see that these are some very classical molecules where we have developed an oral dispersible version across a number of different kinds of products, from oral dispersible tablets to lozenges to sublinguals and beyond, for a number of different APIs in commercially relevant strengths, which are being used and sold by our customers today. So Wayne and I walked you through an introduction to SPI, and we've taken time out to talk about our taste masking knowledge and how that's integral to our Pharma Solutions services model and our development capabilities, and a lot about why you should work with SPI. And now I'd like to take a moment and turn our attention to how we do this. What's the process for Pharma Solutions? Because, again, as I've told you, you can choose a full PDR or you can choose your services a la carte. It's up to you. You can see here illustrated a typical drug development timeline. The time in each phase is variable depending upon the complexity of the drug product, but it generally is going to take from 6 to 18 months to develop a drug product. And it's generally divided into 4 or 5 milestones. We will prepare for you a proposal. You would accept the proposal. We would agree on the terms, and that becomes the first milestone. In parallel, we begin to work in the lab, and we would begin negotiating a development agreement. And then over time, we would come up with prototypes for your review. And in parallel, again, we would be developing analytical methods and batches. So this all starts to look familiar to a drug developer. We would have typically ICH stability data at 15 months, and that's another milestone for success. Then we would begin developing product development reports, specifications, test procedures, etc., and tech transfer happening at 18 months. Again, this is going to vary, and you can choose out of these different steps those which you want us to perform, those which you want us to work with you on, or maybe you want to perform stability. It's really up to you. And we offer even just prototyping to very early stages to help you get a handle on where you want to go. I hope that this has given you a sense of how we work with customers. It's a very flexible model. So there are no questions which are not good questions. We are happy to take any questions about this later on in this call or write to us separately and see how we can help you. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Bill.
Thank you, Don. Now, to bring the presentation together, I'd like to have a quick panel discussion with our two presenters. We're going to pose a couple of questions to our presenters, and I'll invite both of them to respond, starting with Don. But the question for this discussion is why patient centricity and organoleptics must be considered from the start of any project, and following that, how does that affect taste masking? Don?
Patient centricity and organoleptics are critical to patient acceptance and adoption of a new dosage form. And when you're addressing a patient population such as children or the elderly or even compromised patients, maybe they have motor challenges or they have manipulation challenges, it's not enough to provide a dosage form as we do, which easily disintegrates in the mouth and delivers the dose of the drug per the regulatory filings for that drug. You also must address the issue of the adoption, which of course is going to include both organoleptics, how it feels in the mouth, how pleasant the sensation is of this drug dosage form that is disintegrating in the mouth. And that then leads to questions particularly of the taste of the API, and I think we can all assert that there's a very small number of APIs that have a pleasant taste, and therefore taste masking is a critical aspect of any orally disintegrating technology like those we provide. Wayne, maybe you have a few comments about how taste masking is influenced by the patient centricity and organoleptics of these dosage forms.
Yeah, Don. No, I agree with what you're saying, actually. I mean, you know, I think the old saying was you had to take your medicine, meaning that was a bad thing. And we want to make sure that our patients don't feel this is a terrible thing to do, to take the medicine that's going to make them better. I know that even some of the large pharmaceutical companies have committees set up now to look at patient centricity with their own patient population. Really, instead of us formulators saying, no, you will take this, I'm going to formulate it like this, why, you know, could the patient give us some feedback? And with that, like you're saying, let's make it a little bit easier to take the organoleptics, especially for pediatrics and indeed some adults, you know, as far as these ODTs, ODPs, dissolving sachets, things like that. And I think even, you know, simple things like, you know, how much saliva is absorbed in the mouth when you take a tablet. Sometimes they look like an ODT, but really they absorb so much saliva from your mouth that you're choking a little bit and need to go and have a glass of water. So yeah, it's trying to make something, like you say, which is acceptable to the patient.
Really interesting discussion. Thanks to both of you. Thanks to Wayne and Don for that really informative presentation. Before we get to Q&A, just a real quick reminder of some of the things that are going to come your way after the webinar. We'll be sending out the slides and a recording of this webinar, as well as the resources associated with Actimask, taste masking technology, and a link if you wish to have a meeting. Please take the survey following this webinar. We really value your feedback so that we can provide additional information in webinars as well as improve the experience. And then finally, if you're interested, take the time and schedule a meeting to talk to our experts, either Wayne or Don or any of our other regional technical development managers. Thank you for your time today. Now, Q&A.
Okay, we've received several questions, and we have a few minutes left. So I'll start with a few of the most common questions that we see coming in. First is, are the Actimask active used in any currently marketed products?
Hi.
Don or Wayne, you want to take this?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Hi there. Yeah, this is Wayne Camarco. Yes, the Acetaminophen has been around for a while. It's used in marketed products in North America. We also have one in development in Europe with another one of our components for a pharma application. The ibuprofen is a fairly new product. We did used to have it in the past. It was used in the past, but because of the loss of the principal material used to make it, we had to reformulate it with a new source. So now we have a source, and so therefore that will be going into some products. I know we've got a lot of interest from certain companies around the world for especially the ibuprofen version of this.
Don, do you have anything to add?
Well, yes. It turns out that in a number of different dosage forms, to expand on what Wayne is saying, we have a commercial product in a number of different dosage forms. And I would stress that the Actimask offering, the APIs that we sell, as Wayne pointed out, the APAP and the ibuprofen-based APIs, we also have other Actimask related technologies that we use, including complexation and coating with methacrylates or particle formation and encoding. There's a number of different taste masking approaches we've used over the years that are present in commercially available products today. So it's beyond the gelatin coating technology, which Wayne pointed out correctly. We sell those APIs, and then we have a number of commercial products developed through our Pharmaceutical service that use other types of active taste masking technologies. And of course, that's all built on a base of very strong expertise in flavorants and sweeteners, which are a key player in any functioning taste masking technology.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. The next question is, what's the friability of the particle? Does chewing break the coating and expose the bitter API?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think always a question when you try to taste mask essentially a crystalline product with a coating. And of course, that coat is going to be destroyed or dissolved with mechanical chewing and or saliva dissolution, etc. So yes, it's a balance. I think what we like about our material, it does, as far as it has a nice particle size, very tight particle size. So the friability is going to be very low because of the gelatin coating. As far as the friability, if you were to measure it on the traditional way. But of course, once we make a tablet, we would formulate that with the other ingredients. And it's a balancing act because you have to make sure that the product is going to dissolve in the stomach, not in the mouth, so that there's no taste masking. So you want a certain amount of mechanical strength, but you don't want it too much that you have delay in dissolution. That's always, some technologies can be delayed a little bit. Also, the grittiness in the mouth, it can be a function of the actual material itself or the coating. In our case, the gelatin tends to form like a hydrous layer, making it a little bit more, I think, a little bit more acceptable in the mouth as far as feeling it. So, good question, but yeah, we've seen from our studies that it works well, it taste masks well. You can't probably taste mask every single particle, and we've even seen when it's been put into sachet pre-liquid prior to being ingested, you get a little taste breakthrough. So hopefully that answers the question a little bit.
Great. Thanks, Wayne. I think we're coming up on our hour limit very quickly, so we have time for one more question. And that question's, what kind of evaluation testing, particularly sensory evaluation testing, does SPI do?
Hi, it's Wayne again. Yeah, sensory depends on the type of product we're doing. Obviously, the API, which one, the type of API, toxic, etc. And we can start with things as simple as a panel type tasting if it's something acceptable. Otherwise, we have to use other types of techniques as far as looking for escaped API, dissolution testing. And we are working as well. We've got some work with our university looking at simulations to look at this type of thing. So it really depends on the product to be tested.
Great, thanks, Wayne. Don, do you have anything from the Pharma side about sensory evaluation?
So it's a great question. What we work with is, to the extent we have the capability, we work with your method, or we develop a method based on your end-use application and the regulatory territory in which you intend to file. We work with, like Wayne says, we work with electronic tongue. We have evaluated, we have one on from time to time. We also work with dissolution, concentration, recognizing, of course, there's a difficulty there between the ethics of taste masking evaluation and the technique of taste masking evaluation. And so we work with you to build the right gatekeeping mechanism in your proposal to ensure that you get the results that you can use. And we don't promote to you any particular one taste masking measurement technology or another. We work with what your research team believes is the right way to gatekeep that aspect of your product.
All right. Thanks, Don, and thanks, Wayne. And I think we've come up to our time limit, so if there's any questions that weren't addressed, we'll reach out individually to the people that have submitted them with an answer. I'd like to thank our presenters today for their time, and I'd like to thank you, all the attendees on the line, for your time today and spending a bit of time learning about SPI. We encourage you to reach out to us, talk with our technical experts, and see how we can work together on your next project. Thank you.